You know those times when you were in school and you were not paying attention and the teacher would call on you and you would look up and you would get that panic feeling, that feeling of pure panic in your stomach, like, oh shit, I just got caught doing something that I wasn't supposed to be doing. And your body goes into the fight or flight mode and you're freaking out and your palms are sweating and you're like, holy shit, I don't know the answer to this. And you freak out. Now that same feeling would happen to me all the time in my financial planning practice. Like I would close a client and then I would get an email from them and I would look at the email and I would get a pit in my stomach and I would freak out and I'd be like, holy shit, they want to cancel everything that they just did. They actually are going to email me. My brain would go off to this place. They're going to email me and be like, Scotty, you're a piece of shit. You have no idea what you're talking about. You are trying to scam us and we want to cancel everything we're doing with you. We're not investing our money with you. We're not going to do any insurances with you. And yeah, just cancel everything, Scotty. Now, of course, that's not what would happen. People never said that to me, but I had this fear deep down of constantly being found out or constantly being called out. I had this massive feeling of imposter syndrome, and I never really would call it imposter syndrome. I was like, I didn't feel like an imposter, but I felt like I was going to get called out or I was going to get in trouble or people were going to be like, this is not right. I don't want to do this. And I would feel like, holy shit, I did something wrong. You know, that feeling of like doing something wrong, that feeling that you messed up, that somebody's going to get upset with you. I would get that feeling all the time in my business, like constantly. I'd be terrified to check my emails. I just felt that like incessant fear for the majority of my career. Then fast forward, I have become unfazable. I cannot be fazed by people wanting to cancel their plans, people wanting a refund, people wanting to cancel working with me or telling me no. I've become unfazable. I've become unflappable. Like it just doesn't affect me anymore. I've gotten to a place of complete neutrality. And this place is a place that brings me so much more peace and joy and calmness because I don't allow external circumstances to dictate how I feel. Now, that's really nice to say as a coach, as a mentor, as a spiritually enlightened being, but how do we actually get there? Well, I sat down and I identified there were really two things that helped create that feeling for me, that this reality for me that allowed me to be in a place of more neutrality. And I really want all of my students to reach this place of neutrality. And when I say neutrality, I don't mean that I don't care. I still care deeply. But what I don't allow is I don't allow an email that comes in to affect me negatively. I don't get that same pit in my stomach, have to react when I see something that could be perceived as negative, like somebody emailing me and saying, you know, you didn't help me at all as a coach, you suck. I don't react the same way when I see a comment on Instagram or on TikTok, like you're a fool, you don't know what you're talking about, blah, blah, blah. You know, haters are gonna hate. Like it just doesn't affect me anymore. And the reason that I wanna talk about this and the reason this is so important is because when I did feel those feelings of like, oh shit, like maybe they're right, oh shit, something's going on here, it would actually stop me from taking action towards the things that I really wanted to accomplish in my life, which is really sad, right? To be held back by other people's perception of me. I don't want that to happen to me and I don't want that to happen to you anymore. So here are the two things that I really worked on and cultivated to allow me to let go of that feeling of, oh shit, I did something wrong. Like, you know, being called on when the teacher, when you're not paying attention, being called on by the teacher. Here they are. The first one is having a deep and undeniable knowing that you have the ability to figure anything out. You can, at any point in time, work through the solution of things that come up. Now, my therapist shared this analogy with me, and I found this to be really beneficial and really helpful to think about. So if you are sitting here thinking to yourself, well, what happens if that person says no? What happens if I prospect with that person and they tell me to go fuck off? What happens if I cold call this person and they hang up with me? They hang up on me. Like, what's gonna happen? Like, and you're planning out all the future scenarios of what could happen, and you're really kind of driving yourself a little crazy because you're trying to predict all these things happening. Essentially, what you're doing is this is what my therapist shared, is that you're driving home and you park your car in your garage and you leave your car on just in case you need to get your car and you need to drive off at any moment in time. Like, you're metaphorically leaving the car on, and it's wasting energy. It's wasting fuel because the car is constantly running. Your brain is constantly going. What if we turn the car off and we reminded ourselves, I can turn this car back on anytime I want. I know how to turn the car on. I know how to figure this out. I have the resources and the tools to be able to figure this out at any point in time if I choose to. And that analogy, I think, is so great. And so here's the thing. I know at any point in time, if something happens in my business, I can figure it out. Nothing so terrible can happen in my business that would cause me to not be able to figure it out. And if something happened, if, I don't know, I got sued and everything went away, I would still be able to figure it out. Now, that doesn't take away the negative feeling that can happen when something does go awry, when something like a teammate quits or a client wants a refund or something like that. Like, that doesn't take that away, but it does allow me the peace of mind to know I got this. Like, I will figure this out no matter what happens. So my question for you is, if a client emails you and is like, hey, I changed my mind. I can't think of anyone. I don't want to refer you anyone. Respond back to somebody. You did a fact finder with them and they're like, you know what? I'm actually not interested in having this next meeting with you. And they reject you, right? All these things. And you get that pit in your stomach and you're thinking to yourself, like, did I do something wrong? Like, what did I do wrong? Why did this happen? If you think that way, then my encouragement to you is to think about, have you ever solved a problem like that before? Have you ever dealt with a situation like that? Odds are you probably have. Very likely you've dealt with situations like that before. And if you've dealt with them before, then you can deal with them again. Sometimes we think that we have to have all the ducks lined up so perfectly, and we have to know exactly what we're going to say in every single situation. But guess what? You are a creative problem solver and you figured things out before and you'll figure them out again. So the first thing that I did to become neutral, to become unfazable, to become unflappable is to develop this deep sense of knowing, like, whatever happens, I will be able to figure it out. The second thing that I started doing that really cleared any of those emotional highs and lows is I started operating with 100% integrity in everything that I did. So if you're sitting here and you are selling something that you don't fully believe, or if you're explaining something to somebody and you're kind of bait and switching them, then no fucking way are you going to feel super confident. Of course, you're going to feel triggerable, because if you go to somebody and you're like, hey, you know, you really should get this insurance plan. Yeah, you can definitely use it anytime you want, like no problem. When you know they can't touch that money for 5 years or 10 years or whatever the number is, and you're saying things that are out of integrity, out of alignment, then of course you're gonna start to feel feelings of like, oh shit, what if they wanna cancel? Oh shit, what if they look deeper into this and they figure out that I actually was lying? Then of course you're going to feel that level of insecurity or like, crap, like something bad could happen. Most of you, I would imagine, if you're listening to this podcast, you're not going out there and intentionally lying to your clients, right? So obviously you're not doing that, but you may be doing things right now, starting to tiptoe towards that line. You might be omitting some information. You might be saying things in a certain way to elicit a certain response. Now, there is an art to this. There's an art to selling. There's an art to helping somebody take action, but we both know there's a difference between that art and getting somebody to take action towards their goals versus framing something in a certain way so that you can get paid more or receive a commission or an investment check that ultimately you don't know if you fully stand behind and believe in. And so if you operate from 100% integrity, then there's no way that you can ever feel like somebody is going to call you out on something, because no matter what they would call you out on, you can sit there and be like, yeah, but like I'm doing exactly what's right for you. And I fully believe that in my core. So when you operate from a place of 100% integrity, so I operate from a place of 100% integrity, and I'm not perfect. It's not all the time, 100% of the time, perfect, but I strive to over communicate. I strive to have those uncomfortable conversations, even if I don't want to, because I want to be over communicative. I want to be over honest. I want to just communicate everything up front in a really eloquent way so that I can lay my head on the pillow at night and be like, yeah, I'm doing such a good job for everyone that I possibly can. So what this means for me and what this can mean for you is I'm not going into one conversation and treating somebody differently than I'll treat somebody else. I'm not going into a conversation with somebody who says, I trust you. Yeah, just do whatever you want. And I'm like, cool, free reign. I'm going to charge them more money. No, I'm going to operate from behind closed doors the exact same way that I operate in person with people and in front of my clients, in front of my students, in front of the public. Every single decision I make is in full alignment and in full integrity with who I am behind closed doors and in front of closed doors. And when I strive to be that version of myself, I'm not worried about anything. Like, I used to be worried that people would cancel their plans because they would read into something that I didn't explain to them fully and then they would change their mind. That's on me. That has nothing to do with them. Of course I would feel that way. But if I communicate everything super clearly and I'm really upfront, I'm like, listen, this is exactly what you get. This is what I can do. This is what I can't do. Like, I can promise you the world, but you got to do the work. Like, when I'm that level of upfront and transparent, number one, people appreciate it more. They can sense that authenticity and they appreciate it more. And number two, I never stress about somebody coming back to me to be like, hey, you lied to me. Because if they say that, I don't get that pit in my stomach. What I hear is there was a misunderstanding, because I know I did not lie to you, because I would not do that. That's not who I am. I don't show up as a liar. I don't show up as a version of myself that would say things to just convince you to work with me. That's not the vibe. That's not the intention that I put out there. That's not the version of myself that I am. And so I don't ever worry that someone's going to come to me and be like, you duped me. I'm like, if you think I duped you, then clearly there's a misunderstanding, or it's something that you're projecting onto me, because I'm not duping anybody. That's not who I am. And so when I have 100% confidence that I'm acting in full integrity and full alignment, I'm ultimately not worried about other people's perceptions and other people's opinions of me, because I'm doing the best that I can with all the information that I have. So when in the past, I would like omit information, and I never did this maliciously. I did it because I wanted to avoid confrontation, right? Like, I wouldn't tell somebody, hey, the money's gonna get drafted from your bank account this day, because I didn't want them to be like, but why? And then inevitably the money would get drafted from their bank, and then they would freak out and they would call me. And like, I'm like, Scotty, what are you doing? You're creating way more hassle and headache for yourself in the back end than you are in the front end. So I'm like, cool, we're done with that. We're being overly communicative, over the top, expressive, and really letting people know upfront what is actually going to happen. What does the path look like moving forward? When you know beyond a shadow of a doubt that you're acting in full integrity, and when you know that you are able to figure out any situation, then there's really like nothing that can phase you. Nothing can fuck up your flow. Nothing can remove you from your high flying disc, from your ability to just like show up and be neutral. And I cannot stress, it is so valuable to be neutral. It is so powerful to be neutral. It's so much better than experiencing those highs and lows. Because yeah, it's nice when you experience somebody saying yes and you feel good, but then they cancel and then you feel terrible. And those ups and downs are not a place to live emotionally. I want to be in a place energetically and emotionally that I'm like, well, duh, of course I made 80,000 this month. Of course I made 100K this month. Like, it's just a fact. Like, it's not, I don't feel anything. I'm happy about it, but I'm not like placing my worth in that number being achieved or not being achieved, because I'm just neutral. So that's neutrality is a place that I want you to get to. And the way you can get there is by looking at your life and realizing you have the ability to figure anything out. You can figure it out. Everything is figure outable. Like, you have the resources, the tools, the ability to ask other people to do the research, to just show up and say, I don't know what I don't know. If you operate from 100% integrity, then you're never gonna stress about, well, did I do the right thing for everybody? Did I do the right thing for the client? Yes. When you show up and you know you're doing the right thing and you can feel that in your core, then nobody can shake that and nobody can shake you, because you're operating as the best version of yourself. I hope this was helpful. My friends, I hope you have an incredible rest of your day. If you would do me a solid, if you would go on YouTube and like this video, or if you're listening to this on one of your podcasts of choice, if you'd give me a quick rating, that would be so great. I love recording this content for you. I hope you enjoyed it as well. Feel free to DM me on Instagram at any point in time at the Financial Advisor Academy if you want me to talk about something specific. I love you. Have an awesome rest of your day, my friends.